So the first question, right, is that Sis Luanda, when it comes to commercial properties, when it comes to residential, when it comes to multi-let, how would one define it? Because I know, especially as a beginner, you going into property, enthusiastic about property, you want to build 20 units without getting an approved plan, but that does catch up with us later on. So if you could start with a definition or an understanding of the three terms, looking at commercial property, residential, and multi-let.
So commercial property is any property that you can derive income from. Any property that you are not using just for residential purposes where you can live in. So you look at, healthcare, you look at industrial properties, you look
Okay.
at retail centers. So those are your commercial. Residential properties is where you and your family can actually live. And you're not making any income from it. So, yeah.
But what do we call it when someone bought a property and they have about 20 units? Because now the intention was residential, however, they're gaining income from it.
Okay, so you have to be very careful. Like for any type of residential that you build, we've got residential one, which means that it's one small holding that can be on there. So you have residential two, where you can have maybe duplexes in that residential. And you have residential three, where you can build a number of properties. Like let's say you have, that's what you call commercial. So you can build close to 20 units, but it's 20 units on the ground, and then you can go 3 floors up. So which gives you 20, 40, 60, 80. So from that perspective, it's more broader and it gives you more income.
So now, Sis Luanda, right, I'm in a situation whereby I'm starting with my property investing journey, especially when you're looking at, not really especially, but when you're looking at your commercial, right? So now I know my residential. So when you're speaking flip, when you're speaking rental, I know that, right? But now I'm a beginner and I want to move into commercial, right? Which one would you say, or which commercial space would you say is the best one for beginners to actually go into? Because I remember the last time we had a conversation, you did say that looking at your petrol station, that requires you to really know what you're doing. So which one would be the one whereby you're saying that, you know what, as a beginner, I think that you should actually start here?
Student housing. With student housing, you can start with one house, Yakukasi.
Yeah.
I went to the VAL because I was evaluating student accommodation. That old man bought one house, turned it into like a maybe 5-bed, 6-bed, and he realized that, oh, you know what, there's something here. So when the neighbors sold their properties, he would ask them to get the first right of offer. And he's built now, he's got 540 beds as it is, and he started only from 10.
Sure.
From 10 beds to 520. And what he has done with that student housing is amazing, because he doesn't get his rental from the students themselves. He doesn't have anybody willing to go door to door to collect rental, but he's got NSFAS who's paying him, and they pay him first quarter of the year. He gets his income. So what he has to do is just to make sure that the students are happy, the students have everything that they need. So student housing, I think, is one of the great things, because now the government has actually cut out the whole thing of getting to rely on parents to pay for the students, and then now you have to evict. So you can't do everything by yourself. You can't be lodging and then evicting, collecting, and you become a one-man show that is not even winning, because some of them will run away from you, and even if somebody, your friend, owes you money, how difficult it is to get it back.
So, Sis Luanda, with what you said, right, I'm 100% sure that I'm not the only one who doesn't want to deal with tenants. So now, what if I was looking at your storage? But now I noticed something, right, when it comes to the storage. Wait, let's start here. Does storage fall under commercial, or it falls under commercial, right? So I've noticed something, especially in the township in Soweto versus around Randburg, that there's so many of these in Randburg or around your up north, going north, whereas the whole of Soweto we found 2. And with those 2, one was that the electricity got cut, and then they were like, all right, let's just convert these rooms into storage. Whereas the other one, it was a storage. However, when you're looking at it, it's not really in a good condition. So what would you say it would be advised if I'm a first-time beginner, I've never understood, I've never thought about storage in that way?
So, okay, and I like how you picked it up in Randburg and you picked up only 2 in Soweto.
Yeah.
Soweto is home for many people. Soweto, we have back rooms. You can't even put, your bed, like your couches and stuff, and just say, I'm going to keep it in there just for storage. But when you look versus your rent, this is where the working market is. This is where you find a lot of foreigners, active market players. Some of them, they don't stay bound for 1 year. Somebody has a job, finds a job overseas or in another location, and you've already bought maybe a 2-bedroom. So you want to rent it out. Nobody wants to come into your rental space and then use your furniture as well, and be very sentimental. So I think it actually shows the activity of like how there's a lot of immigration. We moving around quite a lot. So rather than having to buy stuff, sell stuff, you'd rather keep it in the storage and know that you keep it in the storage so that when you come back or maybe you get your flat back, you can actually.
Guys, it's actually crazy. Just to give you an example, right? There's this guy, they're storing papers, documents. I was like, bro, well, how can you pay 5,000 for papers? How important are those papers? So it shows that there is a market, and hence we brought Sis Luanda here to expose this, to really understand that what opportunities lie in property investing. I remember.
Yeah, you remember? Don't expose. So, Sis Luanda,
I was gonna expose.
So, Sis Luanda, I'm thinking to myself, right? Because storages don't require a lot. I mean, the last storage that I went to, it was just a room. It didn't have windows. It was just a room that had a lock at the end. Do you think that storage might be something that we'd go into? Because it doesn't really require a lot. Maybe it would require heavy security, because if you're storing a lot of things in there, you'd need like heavy security. But do you think that storage might be something that's not really that costly, because you're not thinking about tenants making a noise or anything like that? Would you think that storage would be something that you'd go into?
Yeah, because your papers don't require any water to drink in the morning or electricity to plug in for coffee. It's just a dormant place. And with storage, I mean, I've seen how sometimes they do the compartments with fences. So you have a room like this, and then it has fences with the name, Neo, Then when you go in there, you know exactly where to go to unlock and get your stuff. So yeah, storage is a great business, because storage is not only for personal storage, but you get companies. A company is going through problems. Now they're not able to pay for their rental, but they still need a place to put all their files. I mean, we've got something called data rooms as well. Data rooms is very, very big. So most of the IT companies will actually use, some of the business parks that are dormant right now, they're being used by data companies, because you always have to have a place where if there is fire in your office or something happens, you can still locate your workers in that space so that they can actually continue with work. So nothing gets disrupted during disaster.